20 stories from ex-cult members. According to Reddit, number 20. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so I was brainwashed from infancy that this was the true religion. If you want an idea of what the cult was like, think of 1984. Seriously, not an exaggeration. The cult had thought crimes, doublespeak, and a worshipful attitude of the governing body, which were the head honchos of the cult, and anything they said was automatically right unless it was thought to be wrong later by the same governing body. Any disagreement meant re-education in the ministry of love, or shunning, which meant complete avoidance by everyone still in the cult apart from you. Wow. Including family members who were still in it. Somebody said, he says, I got out of it. I said enough was enough, and I still haven't spoken to my mother in 10 years. Good riddance, baby. It can family really be family if they'll choose their corny ass religion over you? Oh, religion. Do what?
Until it conveniences them not to, that is.
I don't think there's any comments here that are worth reading. I know many people will be going, man, Kyle, this is 21. You said 20. And it's because one of these are deleted up above. So I'm going to keep reading them in the normal fashion. But, you know, somebody said, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Star Wars.
Sometimes
that you
I
are
feel
lost.
bad.
What?
Sometimes I feel bad for not going to my sister's, plays or...
You've got to be kidding, Stripes. That's a cult, like, straight up. It's not even like a sugar-culted...
But it's important to her.
I said sugar-culted. Isn't that funny? I said sugar-culted. Here's the thing. You can't feel bad about not going to this stupid thing that's part of their cult because you feel bad. Because they won't feel bad when it's... I want to say... God, it's going to be difficult for us to really talk about this here without, I want to say, putting your situation as far as your family is concerned on blast. I guess the easiest way to summarize it without putting a lot out there is to say that Stripes' sister is a Jehovah's Witness, and Stripes' sister lives with Stripes under her mother's roof. Now, Stripes obviously and her mother are not practicing Jehovah's Witnesses, and as far as the Jehovah's Witness cult is concerned, that means that they shouldn't be, even talking to them, but they're dealing with them what?
You're glossing over the fact that we were never, she married into this religion because her boyfriend at the time was really into it. No, he was born into it, and then he indoctrinated her.
Not really relevant, Stripes.
You said we weren't practicing Jehovah's Witness as if it was something that was running in the family.
I say that you and your mother aren't practicing because it's relevant to the fact that she shouldn't be dealing with you in the context of the religion. It stipulates that they're not supposed to mix with you people, you secular people. That's why I brought it up, right? And the bottom line is, she's only doing that because it benefits her while she's staying there. And I've told you this tons of times. I bet you the second that she finds a place on her own, she's going to cut you guys off. Now, do you think she's going to feel bad about that in the same way that you feel bad because you're not going to see her in her stupid play? Hell to the fuck nah. Hell to the fuck nah. So why should you break your back for somebody who's not going to do that,
She had an apartment for a while. We didn't hear from her until she was in money troubles.
My point exactly, Stripes. So you're allowing your emotions to rule you. You know what I mean? A lot of the separation between the people who, as far as society standards of success are concerned, financial success, the difference between the people at the top and the people at the bottom are typically morals. You know what I mean? A lot of people at the top didn't give a fuck about the backs they had to stand on to get up to where they are. You know what I mean? Or the people that they needed to use as stepping stones to get there. Because as far as they're concerned, the end justified the means. So don't let your humanity make you the bitch in this scenario. Because she is part of this cult. When it benefits her, she won't have anything to do with you, regardless of how you feel or, you know what I mean? Or how invested you are in this thing. To her, it's just going to be a light switch on, off, Should I go because my religion allows me to? If it does not, I'm not going to go. So don't feel bad. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? Again, she wouldn't even be a Jehovah's Witness if it wasn't for this nigga. You know what I mean? A lot of girls will do stupid shit for a man, but join a cult? Wow. You know, it's not even like a Kyle cult. Unbelievable. Number 19. Finally, something I can share. I don't know if a lot of people have heard of William Branham. Well, I haven't. But he was friends with Jim Jones, oh God, of Jonestown.
Oh God.
Oh boy. I was born into a church in Puerto Rico where the pastor had his fingers in everyone's lives. And they saw William Branham as a prophet sent in the end times. Sorry, this is like literally making me sick. To usher in the rapture. Think old school hardcore Pentecostal, but with access to people's finances as well. Well, my parents got tired of that and moved to Oklahoma, where they had a sister church that was a bit more liberal. The pastor didn't ask how much people made. Good. All of these churches taught that holiness required that women not cut their hair or wear pants or makeup. Okay. Men couldn't wear shorts or have facial hair. Interesting. Smoking and drinking were explicitly not allowed. I was raised in this and didn't know any better. At 16 years old, our pastor had a vision to move to Tucson, so the entire Oklahoma church up and left for Tucson. Growing up, my parents were more liberal than most, and I had a very happy childhood. When I reached 18, I was finally allowed to date. Dating is very strict, and they split it into 3 phases, their term. Because of the distance the church puts on you and the other person, anyone dating is really making a beeline towards marriage or getting laid. Most kids are scared of the world ending and ending up in heaven a virgin. So as soon as someone is 18, most people in the church marry. Okay. Phase 1 is simply talking to the girl. For most youth get together, sexes are split, and if a guy is seen talking to a girl for more than a few minutes, he better be ready to explain himself to the church leaders, okay? If he likes a girl, he can tell leadership. He wants to get to know a girl better, and they are officially in the first phase. At first phase, you are allowed to talk to that specific girl, and that is it. No touching or hand holding. You know, why didn't the girls just start making out with each other and the boys start fucking each other in the butt? Would that be better? Stupid assholes. Phase 2 is when you are officially dating someone. You are allowed to hold hands, but nothing else. At this point, you need to talk to the girl's parents to make sure they are okay with you dating their daughter. Most parents require a chaperone at this point, since they are allowed to go on dates at this point. Phase 3 is engagement. What? At this point, you ask the woman's father for his permission to marry, and then you propose. Kissing is still not allowed at this point. On paper, no one kisses before their wedding day. Hilarious. However, in practice, most couples end up sneaking kisses more, except penetrative sex during this point. Kisses and more. It also depends on parents. Some parents are super strict about chaperones and some aren't. Isn't this funny? Because, you know, like, it's so bad in certain religions that even, like, in Catholicism, in the Hispanic, you know, world, I want to say, a lot of the broader Hispanic worlds, sex is deemed, like, so taboo that a lot of the women fuck in the butt to retain their virgin status, you know what I mean? With Catholicism, it's so fucking weird.
That and, like, birth control isn't allowed inherently in that religion.
Just madness. I married at 20, which was pretty old, but my ex-wife had barely turned 18. We were both kids and had no clue what we were doing. I was required to marry someone in the church, so I had few options as to who I could marry. The local church only has around 100 people, so during the church conventions, there where 1,000 to 2,000 people would gather, it was a veritable dating frenzy. I was very sincere in my belief of the church, and I was married. And when I married, it was to have kids to keep the church going. Wow. Cult. My ex-wife, however, had only started going to the church since she was 13, so she wasn't as brainwashed as I was, and eventually left me for another man.
Ugh.
I agonized a lot over this and eventually started seeing a therapist for couples counseling. Normally you see the pastor for counseling, but since she had left the church, she refused the pastor, so I told her I was willing to go to a regular therapist. She ended up only attending one meeting, and I kept going at first, hoping to convince her to go, then eventually just using it as regular therapy. The therapist convinced me to follow my passion for Latin dancing. Dancing was strictly not allowed in the church unless it was in the spirit, which meant you basically marched to music. Hilarious.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, man. It's really funny just how many like barriers and boundaries that, you know, religion sets for people. It's fucking disgusting.
I wanted to say it sounded like they were stuck in the 40s, but it's honestly a lot worse than that.
Dancing taught me to treat women as equals and taught me confidence. It's like, what's his name? Jimmy from Bob's Burgers, Jimmy Pesto. Before, I was never allowed to touch or hug women. I wasn't related to, but during dancing, I learned that touching is natural and normal. I eventually left the church at 25 years old and had my first drink. The church basically teaches you that one drink will get you drunk. So imagine my disappointment at my first margarita. I became a flight attendant and married another flight attendant. You gay man. I'm kidding. She has been amazing and has opened my eyes so much. I'm kidding, guys. If there's a man out there who's a flight attendant watching this, get real, Kyle. You only got like a couple subscribers. It's not real. It's not real. There's no men flight attendants. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If you're a flight attendant, you're a man. I respect you, brah. I'm sure you're not a Latin dancer. Latin dancer, dance for sombreros. Do what you want to, maraca. Okay, I had to learn to do what you want to burrito. That would have been better. I had to learn to make love again, as missionary was pretty much the only thing I knew. We also just started a cannabis-based business. If you guys want to know more, maybe I'll do an Ask Me Anything. He just started a weed business.
Oh my God.
Damn, so he went from loser to kick-ass motherfucker. I just wanted to Latin dance. Latin dance freed me from the shackles of my religion. And then I became a flight attendant. What? And then I learned to do the sex because all I know is missionary sex. And now I open weed business. How you like that? You like that?
I don't think he was Hispanic. I want to believe this.
I'm not saying he was Hispanic. I'm just saying he was into Latin dance.
I
He
know,
probably saw a
but
movie when he was younger and was like,
really
damn.
culture.
He saw a movie and was like, I want to do that. God damn. Look at his hips. He look at his hips. Oh my God. Oh my God.
An ex-cultist flight attendant.
I'm really fucking saddened by how bad religion is sometimes, man. You're just like restricting people. Somebody said, what, that was quite the ride. Yeah, we've gotten nowhere and it's already this ridiculous. What does this other one say?
Minister?
I'm
a minister, I think.
I got time for that. Number 18. I've covered this when I first got on Reddit, but my parents joined a cult in West Texas when I was about 8 or 9 after searching for the truth their whole adult lives. Well, the truth is out there, you know. I hope they found those aliens. Long story short, Reddit, it wasn't that crazy at first. I like to use the frog in boiling water analogy.
Oh, I hate that one.
If it was that batshit insane when they first started going, they wouldn't have stayed. God, Kyle, you all right? It became a doomsday cult, multiple marriage. All the girls were married up by the elders, leaving nothing for us young dudes, so naturally we rebelled. What? My escape wasn't as harrowing as some others, but my leaving did set up me saving my 15-year-old sister under cover of darkness by abducting her from my dad's house and transporting her to my mom in Los Angeles, from marrying an elder who already had 4 wives and about 10 kids. He was later arrested for molesting his stepdaughter. Jesus Christ. It's happening right now. That's why it's scary. It's happening right now. Old niggas have multiple lady wives who were probably at some point underage hoes that they were fucking, got them pregnant, and are having relations with the children. Do you understand me, Stripes? Yeah, it's the part of life that people have to literally commit out of their mind. But worse, they have these people indoctrinated under the guise of religion. You know, they read from a book, and the book tells them that all their money should come to us. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the good thing to do, because God tells you to do it. You should marry into us, dude, because it's the good thing to do, because God's telling you to do it. Don't you want to be a good person? You know what I mean? They're fucking using the fear of what may or may not happen when you die, you know, into trying to force you to do different things while you live. Number 17, baby.
I don't want to think about child brides.
Woo! Mormonism. I can't leave no matter what I do. I cannot attend church or talk to anyone in it, but they'll find a way to contact me. They don't give up. It's especially hard when all your relatives are also Mormon, and you live in one of the highest Mormon populated cities in the world. Sigh. Duck. He's a high school student, apparently. Sucks for him. Moving around.
I mean,
what?
Are there cultist movies? Like, I don't mean like indoctrinating kind of cultist movie, but I just mean horror movies based on cults.
If you're asking me if there are cult hits, you know, the movies that gain a cult following, you know what I mean?
That's not what I mean, God.
Number 16, my mom was in the cultist organization in her 20s. Not really sure why she joined, and she used to talk a lot about her glory days. Through the glory hole. When my siblings and I were old enough to participate, naturally we joined. They require you to pay to be there and participate in the mission trips and teaching, which are basically required to maintain the membership, and then require total submission from women to men and the group leadership, and complete submission from the guys to the group leadership. Lots of hierarchy. If you don't hear the voice of God, you're fucked. As a woman, if I disagreed with anything my superiors said, they would ostracize me and do pretty much everything in their power, which was a lot, to make my life hell. They preyed on people who have low self-esteem and few friends. They preyed on people who have low self-esteem and few friends. Then they teach you that you only matter if you hear and obey God, and then effectively make it so only friends you have are members.
That
Interesting.
Sounds like an abusive relationship, honestly.
That's what a lot of religions are. They're cults, dude.
I know.
You know.
But you can frame this as just a person-to-person kind of thing, too.
Even though I had friends and good enough self-esteem when I joined, I started feeling pretty shitty about myself and lost almost all my friends. I'm not making fun of this person. This shit happens and it really sucks. People get preyed on, dude. Outside because obviously, and inside because I asked questions. Remember that one episode of, we haven't watched Black Mirror. The most cultish part of my experience was this: despite of all this, they still enticed me to come back a few times and rejoin activities, committing to greater and greater responsibilities each time, which meant worse treatment each time, because for me, having greater responsibility meant asking questions sometimes. Even logistical clarification questions, i.e. where are we supposed to be at X event, what's the address of Y location, infuriated my leader. When I tried to talk to his leaders about this, they tried to gaslight me, then ostracize me. On the third comeback, I promised myself... What?
I've heard the phrase gaslight thrown around, but I'm not clear on what it means.
What do you think it means?
I'm not sure what it means. It's
what
like
do you think it means?
Framing?
What?
Framing?
No, dude. Think literally. Gaslight. Why is gas bad?
Why is gas bad?
Why is gas bad? You've gotten in trouble because you fucked up in your own house and your mom yelled at you about gas. Why is gas bad?
Okay, I understand. It's poison. It's toxic.
It's not just poison and toxic. Like, what happens if gas bad? What happens at gas stations often? If a car runs into a gas station or somebody lights a fucking cigarette and throws it in the wrong place at a gas station, what happens?
It blows up.
Okay. Stripes. On the third time back, I promised myself I would never return. My brother is still involved and it makes family gatherings extra tough. My sister would be involved if her husband's job would allow him to relocate. Oh, yeah, sure. I went back one time to see my brother get married to another member. Ugh. I ran into my old crew and leader, who discouraged me from starting medical school. Nice. Noting that it would delay my marriage and childbearing, and that the workforce isn't the woman's place. It's a message I've been hearing from my mom for years and continue to hear every time we talk. It's very hard to continue to be a part of a family that's so deep in this ideology. Jesus Christ, these niggas living in the past. And the worst part is, you wanna like, here's the thing. I'm not a cruel guy, but I understand how half of the things that I may say may come off harsh and cruel. Let's say this. A lot of parents don't want to get their kids vaccinated. That's fucked up. You know what I mean? It's fucked up because the kids have to pay for the decisions of these idiots. You know what I mean? These grown idiots, many of whom were already vaccinated because their parents weren't fools, are choosing not to vaccinate their children based on some stupid shit that they heard and believe. Okay? So there's that, right? In my brain, I'm just like, cool. You know, eventually the people who are making these decisions will die. Obviously, they're not raising up kids in their image that will make it, because they're going to die too. You know what I mean? So after an amount of time, it'll just sort itself out, you know? But to be honest, that kind of shit always finds ways of continuing. Okay? So it's funny how we're seeing this, because this isn't, and what I mean by this is the people in these organizations going out of their way to reproduce and have people born into this shit. Do you get what I'm saying? That shit's scary to me. That shit's scary to me, because they're continuing this shit by getting people to marry young, getting them to have kids, having the kids grow up in this shit. And that's what you're hearing as the stories from these people is, oh, I was born into this crap. And that's fucking horrifying.
I think this should be like some, it wouldn't work out for them. It wouldn't benefit them to have like some kind of age restriction, but it should be on the parents to like let their children try and figure out what they want to do.
You don't understand just how bad parenting is on paper. Okay, Stripes? And what that means is like when you and me have a kid right now, we can fill that kid's head with any fucking thing we want, dude. Say we want to like train this little motherfucker like Supernatural style to kill not just like, you know, monsters and demons and save people and hunt things, but to fucking kill people. To family business. You know what I'm talking about? Teach this kid to kidnap motherfuckers and, you know, just hide. You know what I mean? Just fill his head with shit. He grows up and maybe he does the same thing. And before we know it, say we're like, we want to be charismatic and convert people to our cause and have them raising other people that are just like this. It's how this shit spreads. You can't just think to yourself, maybe one day all the people who are racist will die out. Nah, nigga, these racist people are having kids and growing these kids up to be racist. You know what I'm talking about? It's really crazy. It just keeps like continuing, and it fucking scares the hell out of me. I brought up the parents thing to say, you've seen some of these religious documentaries where it's like they filled their kids' head with this shit, and these kids don't receive the opportunity to learn right from wrong because they've already been indoctrinated so that they only see these things. And it would be, I guess the simplest analogy would be to try to break it down in a way where it's just like, you know, most kids, they grow up and they're taught their different shapes. You got your circles, you got your squares, you got your triangles. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you and I have a kid, we grow this kid up and we go, hey, this is a circle with edges, and this is the three-sided circle. All this nigga sees is circles. It doesn't matter what you try to teach him, right? He's gonna see the circles because that's what we taught this kid. That's what's in his mind. And to be honest, he may not even see anything outside of a circle because that's what he's trained to see now. Do you know what I mean? That's what he's trained to see. So everything that falls outside of the tunnel vision of what he's looking for doesn't exist. People who are looking for things will find that shit. You know what I mean? And I really don't want to go into it because you know, it's easy to make a statement like there should be laws when it comes to raising kids. You just can't have them believe in whatever the hell you know what I mean? But what can we?
But I think they're better off now than they were, say, when like they didn't have ways to contact the world outside of their bubble.
Stripes, we've gone over this before. The only thing that makes shit better is how connected we are, and the only thing that makes it doesn't make them, it honestly forces them to do things a little bit better, is just how available we are, as far as like establishing an audience. Do you get what I'm saying? In the same way that like cops are only going to be better because you're putting a fucking body camera on this motherfucker. You know what I mean? You got people on the side of the street with their camera phones out. That's gonna make this guy not be as big an asshole as he might be if this shit wasn't around. In the same way, a parent, would probably really be doing some crazy shit with a kid that they would expect to get away with if they didn't have like a kid who had access to Twitter. You know what I mean? Who could just put all of this on the internet and put this motherfucker on blast, like, here come Child Protective Services type shit. You know what I mean? And the worst thing is, people will attempt what they believe they can get away with. And I've said it before, it's shame, unfortunately, that demands that people come correct. And this pertains to parents in a big way. Well, most parents will do a certain thing behind closed doors, you know what I mean, that they sure as hell wouldn't do if like they had an audience right in front of them. And as it pertains to raising your kids up in this shit, man, the worst part is like I was saying earlier, when they're seeing all circles, they don't even know it's wrong. Because from the day that they were born and raised up in this bullshit, all they know is bullshit. So all they can do is pass it on. You know what I mean? All they can do is pass that shit on. And in my brain, as cynical and assholish as I want to be, where I say things to myself like, man, hopefully someday they'll all just die out and we won't have to think about this. They're not going to die out if they keep bringing in more motherfuckers and teaching them this bullshit. And it scares the living shit out of me to think about. Everybody is in agreement. Yeah, man, you can't just raise your kids any kind of crazy way. That shit's ridiculous. You know what I mean? You need to let them come to terms with what shit is. They need to reach a point. You need to equip your kids with the ability to learn and process things for themselves, and then again, I guess it's even diving into our school system and what's wrong with that now, because everybody's being taught to pass a test. I think yesterday I was reading a list and somebody was like talking about how somebody died and they went into the dad's house and there were all these books all over the place and they were like, wow, this guy's so smart. And I'm like, no, nigga, reading books and getting knowledge doesn't make you smart. Wisdom makes you smart. The application of that knowledge makes you smart. I could teach you, hey, look both ways when you're going to cross the street. You know what I mean? You could write that 1 billion times in a journal. If when the day comes and you're crossing the street and you don't look both ways and get hit by the car, you ain't wise, my nigga. You had that knowledge maybe, but you're not applying that shit. And as it pertains to our school system, the main thing that we all waste money on are books that are notoriously not helpful as it pertains to the class. And half the time with these tests, we take these books and we fill our heads with this knowledge for the short amount of time, just enough time to pass this test. We call that cramming, you know what I mean? Where we're putting all this information in our head just so we could pass this test. So after the test is done, and since we know that none of this shit is going to be applicable in our current lives, it's not practical information that we're ever going to be able to use again, we release that shit. You know what I mean? It's not like a language or something that you learn where like if you don't practice slowly it fades away. Like we cram this shit to be able to remember it for literally just a few days. In America, the system of learning is basically about teaching a person to pass a test. It's not about teaching a person to learn anything or retain anything. So when it comes to this kind of shit, it's like the polar fucking opposite. They are fucking just indoctrinating these kids. They don't know different. They might as well be robots, and it's fucking scary.
I want to believe that even as hard as they try to shelter them from like thinking outside of the religion, that any day now they're gonna come across something that just shakes the foundation of what they were taught, because it's pretty unstable.
The thing is, I like to think that everybody has that thing that could be introduced to them that would make them go like, Jesus, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Why can't I do that? Why can't my life be like this? You know what I mean? But there's so many people who may live their entire lives and not see that thing that they needed to see. You know, like we're teasing this guy earlier who said he in a way Latin dance kind of like freed him. You know what I mean? It's a very specific and strange thing to us. But like, what if he, like, say it was a movie that he saw where somebody was just dancing and he was like, man, you know, I've never seen anything like that, because they teach us that it's wrong. They teach us people marching to music with like a flag being waved or something. That's what he said. He said that in his church.
No, I know that, but it was probably not music. It was probably just chanting, like very
no.
chanting.
He said that, you know, the only dancing that was allowed in his church was dancing in the spirit, which is basically marching to music. That's what I'm saying. That he said. So in his, you know, what he's coming up and what he saw was probably just that. They put on a track, you know, it's not like live musicians playing it. It's just like a fucking CD. And then you got some woman who's dressed in like a very unprovocative, like long gown to not, you know, scare your imagination or anything like that, or get you thinking about anything but Jesus. And she comes out with a flag and she's, you know, waving it left and right. And oh my God, you know. And when you see more of the world, you see just how creative people can be, just how expressive people can be. You see like the human anatomy, like there's something super wrong with that and everybody should be ashamed. Not everything is sexual. You know what I mean? Not everything is sexual. And there's beauty. There's beauty. I may be
jumping the gun here.
What?
But do you think we'll see stories from ex-Muslims?
Who fucking knows? I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't want to say that I consider Muslims as part of a cult any more than I consider most religions very culty, you know? And again, people can subscribe to a religion without being religious, but we're not going to get into that because I feel like I'm already wasting enough time, you know? But Jesus Christ, man. The bottom line is, some of these, like, I feel like if people were to just write them down, they should be capable of seeing, dude, I'm part of a cult. You know what I mean? Like, these are all the things I can't do.
We're almost on the same boat with this. Like, you don't need to be in a religion to believe there might be a higher power.
Oh my God. Yes, Stripes. It goes beyond saying, I guess. Goes without saying. But my point is just how any people exist as part of this shit without knowing it, you know, is the heart of oblivion in the like the definitive, you know, like oblivious use of the word. Like, how do you not know? How do you not know? Number 15, baby. My sister was involved in a cult for a little while. She never joined. She was too smart for that, but she was friends with a few of them. But of course, that's how they get you. Eventually, like a year or so after she started hanging out with them, they basically forced her to make a choice: join the church or get lost. They worded it differently, of course, about how they, you know, just wanted her to be saved and all that nonsense, obviously. They're trying to prey on people with few friends and low self-esteem. Ooh. It's the second time we've seen that in this very list. That's the second time we've seen few friends and low self-esteem, making them scared to lose the only friends that they have by tricking them into joining. Let's talk again about your sister and her Jehovah's Witness. You know, one of the reasons that I have sincere disrespect for the Jehovah's Witnesses is because you remember the first guy called it shunning. I call it just, you know, ignoring people or whatever. That's a tactic, you know? That's a tactic it's almost like an ultimatum to try and force people to join you, or we're not going to have anything to do with you. And it's the heart of despicable, disgusting, rude, and you should be ashamed type behavior. You know what I mean? It's one thing, okay? Say I'm Christian, you know, which I guess I could say I was or am even in a certain way, right? But you gay as fuck. You are just so gay. And the Bible apparently says that all the gay men are wrong and they're bad and they're, you know, blah, 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 blah. If that's what the book says, cool. If that's what some people want to teach, cool. But what I decide is that, okay, if I'm super Christian and I don't believe in the homosexuality bullshit, then I choose to love you and not love what you do. because we should love everybody. We should always look to people with open arms, even if we disagree with what they're about or where they come from. There's no fucking way in hell and no reason that we shouldn't be able to coexist, especially if what you doing ain't got shit to do with me. What you fucking men got to do with me? Am I scared you're gonna fuck me? You know what I mean? Hell to the nah. You're not hurting me with your thing that you're doing, and that's the most important. You're not hurting anybody. So I feel I should love you even if I dislike what you do. Jehovah's Witnesses say no, no, no. You don't do what we do, we don't even talk to you. Okay? And that's not an exaggeration. They literally will not talk to people. They're supposed to shun. They're supposed to literally, by definition, figuratively turn their back on people. And as a religion, how do you even thrive when everybody that's part of your fucking cult knows that the second that they step out of line, they don't have anybody on whom to call? That's supposed to be part of this family. And that's what a lot of people go to with these things, is to have like a family. You know what I mean? They have low self-esteem. They don't have friends. They don't have people around them. You know what I mean? And like, that's one of the few things that I can say about a lot of religions, is that they have open arms and they're trying to show you that the love and the warmth of whatever higher power is with you and can be there for you. Do you know what I mean? But the fucking Jehovah's Witnesses, baby, they like, nah, baby, fuck you, fuck that. What the hell? I just don't get it, Stripes, because it's a super strong cult. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm so confused. I'm so confused.
Have you met them before?
Of course. My grandmother on my father's side is Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. And one of my uncles, my beloved uncles, was Jehovah's Witness. And you know what the funny thing was about my uncle? I love him to death. His name was Dwayne.
Yeah.
I love my Uncle Dwayne so much. I was closer to him than anybody on my dad's side, closer to him than my father, right? Coolest thing about Dwayne was that I learned that even with him growing up in the Jehovah's Witnesses, you know what I mean? It was so fucking clear that, especially as a young person, it's impossible for you to live and be a Jehovah's Witness. You understand me? That's why I feel so bad for your sister, because it's impossible for you to live, my nigga. You can exist, you know what I mean? You can wake up in the morning, you can walk around, put your clothes on, go do your gay ass job, come the fuck home, eat the same bullshit, go to some dumb event that's non-harmful. You know, let's see if this movie is like PG, you know what I mean? Not PG-13, that's a bit edgy, you know what I'm talking about? And just live your corny ass life, dude, but you are not living. And that's one thing that I saw. And he was not gonna let one take away his ability to do the other. And I had some serious respect for that. But I feel bad for anybody who's part of Jehovah's Witnesses. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and you listening to this, you part of a cult, my nigga. And if you were to write down half of the shit that they're about on paper and ask yourself, is this what like a person should be like? You know what I'm saying? Is this what a good person should be like? I'm not trying to get fired up or diss your stupid ass cult, homie, but you're in a fucking cult. You got me? You know what I mean? Are you supposed to be a good person and allow other people to see you as part of an example? You know what I mean? That's the one thing that the religious people should be doing, as far as I'm concerned, is leading a life that make people around them with, you know, the Mormon type thing, where everybody sees them and goes, why are you so happy? You know what I mean? You got something going on that I ain't got going on? That's how they get you. Why don't it be like that? Why are you turning your back on people? Like, you got me fucked up. Number 14, man. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is my friend's story. He joined because he was homeless, and they promised to get him clean and sober. Ooh, he left because he got clean and sober. He took what he needed and he faked the rest. There were others there out of desperation. He connected with a few of them. Their philosophy was eat the meat and spit out the bones. I'm still clean and sober. I had 3 years in January.
My man.
That's what's up.
That's pretty good.
Somebody said, whenever I wonder to myself, how the hell do people fall for cults? I remember that they take advantage of people at their most broken and vulnerable. Listen, I really want to talk about this Black Mirror episode, but it's great for the viewer in case they haven't seen it, because you haven't seen it. So allow me to quickly summarize and explain this episode of Black Mirror. In Black Mirror, there's an episode where a woman... Well, we can't talk about it with a woman. Look, there's an episode of Black Mirror where someone loses someone. okay? Like they die and they're part of a relationship, okay? So apparently a friend of that person signs them up for this digital thing. And basically what the digital thing is, Stripes, is that it will send the person messages as the person who died. Okay? It's like this technologic thing where apparently it absorbs all of the fucking messages and emails they've ever sent, like hardcore NSA style.
Oh,
and it creates like an AI
person
of that person who is passed. Okay, Stripes? Now, it's supposed to help with the grieving process, but over the course of the Black Mirror episode, you know, it just escalates. They want him back, you know? So apparently, and this is the kicker in the episode, it reaches a point where it goes, there's another tier to this, like, you know, experience, like another package, and it's very expensive, right? But of course the person goes through with it, and naturally they end up putting the AI in a body that they construct to look exactly like the person who fucking died. Crazy, right, Stripes? But the important and sinister part, in my opinion, because it's a throwaway line in the episode, but when you think about it, like, you know, and think about the discussion that it provokes, dude, you know, this is an expensive thing, but it will give you this person that you lost back. Here is something that's essentially just capitalizing off of a person at their worst, in the midst of their grieving process over a dead loved one. You can't get any lower than there, you know what I mean? You can't be any more susceptible or vulnerable than when you are there. And when you think about the people at like a funeral home, you know what I mean, that are trying to sell you a casket, this is what they would want, you know, they want to go out in style, and you have to make sure, you know, the people who were in their life don't look at them or remember them for anything other than what was worthy of them. Do you know what I mean? It's just another step forward. Like, people take advantage of people at their worst, and the fact that religions do it is.
Can you plan for a Viking funeral?
Of course.
In America.
I would imagine because America is not really fun. You can't really. You almost need permits to do everything. But I would imagine if you went out to like international waters, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted. You know what I'm talking about? And hope the current just washes you know, your corpse to the bottom of the sea. Hope a shark comes up and gobbles your ass up, and hope that it doesn't just carry it, somehow reach it like back to land. Whose corpse is this?
What? No, you're set on fire.
I know.
So there wouldn't be a lot anyway.
Maybe the shark would be like, wait a minute, what's something smell good up there? Somebody barbecuing on the surface? Hey, shark boy. What's up, Dad? Let's go up to that surface. Sound like somebody barbecuing out there. Sound like it, Dad. You crazy, Dad. Sorry. Why was I doing a bit with a shark and a burning human? Oh, you know what I saw the other day? I saw a quadruple amputee guy with no arms, no legs. He was underwater. He was swimming. And he was in the ocean. Like, yeah, he had people out there because they were obviously probably there to make sure he was okay and to videotape him doing this, I guess. But all I was thinking to myself was like, dude, if a shark were to come out of nowhere, would he think of this as like the human equivalent of like a chicken nugget? Because there's no legs, there's no arms, it's just meat and the head.
What? I'm thinking of like, what would he interpret it as? Because you can't mistake that for
food, nigga. These are animals. He wouldn't need to interpret it as nothing. His stomach would need to interpret that shit, you feel me?
No, but it's just like you keep hearing this, that sharks only attack humans because they're mistaking them from seals on their surfboard. So if that's true, then what's he?
You think you heard that sharks only attack humans because they mistake them for seals on a surfboard?
Well, I guess that might be old news.
You believe that?
I did.
You're crazy, Stripes. I like to think that a shark understands food, and that's what it sees, you know? It can see, it can tell, there's warmth coming off that, it's alive, it's kicking around, you know what I mean? It's not like so stupid that it's like literally just going straight for a propeller because it's moving, you know what I mean? I like to think that a shark can look and think, that's food. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to get that food. Fuck whether or not it thinks it's a dumbass seal or not. You know what I mean? Shit.
Well, now
That's
that you
food.
made me think about this a little more, I guess if it was like, oh, that's a person, it's not gonna evaluate that he's higher on the food chain. It's
You know,
just
I invite stripes into these lists because I think they're going to be incredibly short. You know what I mean? And then we end up talking about some of the stupidest bullshit. Like, at least all that crap that I was going on about before was vaguely related to, you know, me going off on these corny ass religions and how rude they are and that they're just trying to take instead of give, man. But hey, I guess everything needs to profit. We didn't even look at 13 to see if I could figure out from context clues what it was about. Somebody just said, gosh. Had the same experience, same. It's when nobody tries to what's the word? And when the user gets deleted, the comments get the thread's gone forever. And that breaks my heart. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about sharks and whether or not.
Wait, we were talking about Viking funerals. That's how we got here.
Shark get up on the surface thinking about barbecue. Look, man. Number 12. I'm on my mobile. I'm sure I'm way late to the game, but here's my story. I literally walked into the Church of Scientology. I moved to Clearwater as a minor. Made some friends and walked into, without anyone representing me, into what I thought was a museum, being brought up without any religion. Although both my parents were raised conservative Muslims, I grabbed on to the ideology of what are you are what you make yourself. Long story short, 5 years later, while working for a Scientology-owned company, while still exploring whether I wanted to join or not, I got held hostage. Literally. For 3 hours because I wouldn't accept their philosophy on a small incident and left the workforce only to have a beer bottle broken over my head. My what the fuck? My LTR, lifelong Scientologist boyfriend,
wait, so he broke the bottle over her head?
It's a long-term relationship. What the fuck? Long-term relationship, I'm guessing. Right?
Yes.
So whoa. On a small incident and left workforce only to have a beer bottle broken over my head by my long-term relationship, lifelong Scientologist boyfriend, and have the cops, who were Scientologists, arrive at the house to determine there was nothing to escalate to a domestic violence report. And then later on, 2 days later, flee the house with my dogs and what little I could with time I had for my own safety. So yeah, that's my life in a cult. Fuck Scientology. She brave. She brave, brother. She brave? Because she writing this here. The Scientologists are everywhere. There's Scientologists listening to my video right now, which is why I have nothing to say about wonderful Scientology. I'm kidding. Y'all need to give me some fucking money if you want me to keep your mouth out of my words. Okay. You think you can keep your mouth out of my words? The idea of calling the police only to have the police be part of the cult. That's terrifying. That's some movie shit right there. That's some movie shit right there.
Wasn't there a movie that was like based on a Scientology story and it had like
I remember.
What was his name?
I think everybody on Reddit upvoted it and nobody watched it. That's the way the world goes.
God. Who's the guy from not Footloose? The other musical movie that's not Footloose.
John Travolta.
Musical. Yes.
Susical. Number 11. I haven't yet, but I will soon as I am 18. I am a Mooney. What?
What's a Mooney?
I don't know. The Unification Church was a church founded by Reverend Sun Myung Moon in the 50s and 60s. I can't remember exactly when. The church members are often referred to as Moonies, a name members are divided on. Some like it, some equate it to a pseudo curse word. Wow. The Unification Church and its teachings center around the founder, Sun Myung Moon. We are taught that Moon, when he was a young boy in North Korea, was accosted by Jesus himself, who descended from the sky to inform the young Reverend Moon that it was his destiny to bring the people of the earth back to God. In order to achieve this end, Moon collected his thoughts into a book called The Divine Principle, used as a supplementary text by its members. In order to accelerate the growth of the church, he arranged marriages. My parents were matched by picture. Moon literally picked up a picture of my mom and of my dad and matched them like that. In order to marry all the couples he matched, the church arranged mass wedding ceremonies.
Is this the same cult that like terrorized a subway in Korea, or is this another one?
I don't even know. I am a second generation member, though I know some third generation members. I intend to leave the church officially when I am 18. If I were to choose to stay, my parents would seek a girl in the church for me to marry. And with the consent of the girl's parents, I would be married off to that girl in a mass ceremony along with 4,000 other couples. 4,000! My parents do not know I am leaving the church, and boy, I feel scared for you, but there's got to be a lot of bing bong Koreans that they can do. You the one who write on Reddit? I'm kidding. That's I'm gonna kill myself. I need a drink. You talk.
I didn't even know. I don't know if Korea's communist, and I'm gonna look like a dumbass if they're not, but I assume that any religion isn't really like looked as
What you saying? Our religion good? Alright, I'm sorry.
I know communist Russia doesn't allow for religion at all.
In communist Russia, let me see here.
Stop.
Religion practices you. In Soviet Russia, religion practices you. My parents do not know that I'm leaving the church, and I don't know how they will react when they find out. To be honest, though, I'm more worried about how they'll react to the fact that I have a secret girlfriend for the past 3 years. Secret girlfriend. Who that girl? I've been dreading the moment when they inevitably find out. Beliefs. The main text of the religion is the Divine Principle. The Divine Principle basically states that the core of humanity, the basic structure around which everything should focus, is the family. Another idea that is central to the unificationist philosophy is the idea of pure love. Pure love entails no dating of any kind before marriage, no sex before marriage, and no sex 40 days after marriage. Bing bong! Pure love, baby. Also entails that the founder of the church would be literally pointed pairs of people in a room and told that they were to be married to each other. As the church grew, Moon began matching people by their pictures. He eventually loosened up on his policy with the church, set up matching workshops for parents so that the parents could do the matching in lieu of Moon's matching. It should be noted that Moon himself was married twice. Teachings. Oh my God. We don't care.
Then what are you trying to get to?
I don't say that often, but fuck come on. We want the juicy, you got out or you getting out. Good luck to this boy. Because if they find out which kid, who the Mooney want to go? Yo, we look at Reddit too. So just give you some hope.
Mooney sounds like a racial slang.
My Mooney religion best religion out there, sweet and sour. Spicy religion.
It's a racial slur for me.
Listen, honky. I'm trying to get through these fucking monkeys. Number 10. When my mother met and married my first stepfather. When my mother met and married my first stepfather, I was 4 or 5 years old. 4 or 5 years old. 4, 5 years old. 4 or 5 years. I'm sorry. I'm really. Whoever's listening to this and was trying to get through it without me, like, oh boy. It's funny because sometimes I think long and hard about whether I should call you or I should just get through the list quick. But even when you're not here, I just go off because I can't deal with. It's a stupid list. I'm only at 10 and the ADD's kicking in. You know what I mean? Usually waits till 5.
no, you're gonna lose your mind before we're done.
Oh, when my mother. I'm sorry. When my mother met and married. That's a lot of M's though. I'm not wrong for that. That's a lot of M's. I'm not trying to have fun. I'm just being stupid because when my mother met and married ma. When my mother met and married ma. I really want to put that in a rap. Are you kidding me? When my mother met and married my first stepfather, I was 4 or 5 years old. He began to introduce me to the cult he belonged to almost immediately. Oh, I'm sorry. It flows really well. I expected it to rhyme. Did you expect it to rhyme with the way I was reading it?
Well, okay, then replace that last word with something that fit better.
Okay, look. When my mother met and married my first stepfather, I was 4 or 5 years old. He began to introduce me to the cult he belonged to, and immediately I was sold. I'm done. Okay? I don't think that my mother realized he was in... Shut up, Stripes. I don't think that my mother realized he was in one, although he was trying to get her into it slowly. Usually the guy's trying to get into her slowly. God, this is going to be the whole damn... Should I take a break?
I don't know. I guess you should.
I think maybe even the listeners getting frustrated with this, but not like frustrated with the list, just like the fucking religions in the world. But if this is juicy indeed, we should get through it. During evenings when my mother went out, or weekends whenever he could get me alone, or school holidays, or times when he'd come to take me out of school, he would work on teaching me to be a member of the cult he believed in. Whenever my mother wasn't around, there were training sessions and practice sessions for his cult. Eventually, there were times when he'd get me in the middle of the week from my school and take me to a group camp sort of place where other members of this group set up for extended activities. Sometimes they would trade children for the getaway period, like swap us back and forth for cross training. Once in a very great while, a kid there would die. But usually, those were the kids that were just picked up and not legally part of their families, so they didn't have to make excuses for them missing. I was very lucky because my stepdad didn't like to share me, so I was never cross-trained. My mother helped my stepfather in a lot of what he did, not because she knew what he was doing and involved in, but because she was naturally a hateful sort of person who helped him in isolating and keeping me from making any long-term friends. She refused to let me watch television, listen to the radio or music, or go to parties or special events. It was like being a Jehovah's Witnesses family, but she wasn't one. Yeah, I bet you guys didn't know that about Jehovah's Witnesses, you know what I mean? It's like a no fun situation is what they did. They just existing. They ain't living a life. They ain't living a life, baby. Can't have no fun, baby. She just didn't want me around and did not want me to inconvenience her in any way. Jesus Christ, sounds like a great man. So the house was closed to me. I was restricted to my room for the most part of my life as a child by her, and that helped him because it gave me a lot more access and control over me. My stepdad's cult was a sexual slavery group. Because you know that's the main question. When I keep saying activities, and training sessions, like, what is this? What are you doing? What does it entail? My stepdad's cult was a sexual slavery group. So you have to go back now to when it said, once in a very great while, a kid there would die. But usually those were just kids that were just picked up and not usually part of their families. Traded for cross training. Because my stepdad didn't like to share me.
I'm genuinely surprised this wasn't deleted.
Why?
It just seems like something that wouldn't have been here.
Oh man, some of the craziest ones remain. A lot of the ones that get deleted are for really silly and dumb reasons. My stepdad's cult was a sexual slavery group. They believed that women were naturally inferior and meant to be slaves. My training was to teach me how to be a slave. Oh God, she's a girl. Oh God, she's a girl. Oh God, I thought it was a little boy. Oh God. My training, ooh. My training was to teach me how to be a slave, how to endure pain, long terms of time in poses holding things, or being furniture, and what he called the preparations for my womanhood. By the time I was around 8 or 9, he was trying to get my mom into softer versions of what he was doing with me, with his buddies in his group. He started trying to get her to do swinging and wife swapping and stuff, but my mom was naturally a prude who actually hated sex in the first place, which kind of made things worse on me and made him more impatient. By the time I was 8 or 9, I told a childhood friend some of the stuff he did, but not about the camps and the poses and the training and the kids that were expendable. She told her mother, who told my mother, that I was being molested, and there was a lot of screaming and shouting in the house, and the embarrassing interviews with her interrogating me and being really angry at me. And I was so scared because of the threats he'd made, but also because she was so furious with me that I minimalized what he was doing and kept it to just the preparing me for womanhood bits. She separated from him for 3 months, but it was too hard for her to make it on just her own income, and she was too proud to ask for help and refused to go to any kind of assistance because she didn't want to be a welfare mom like all the wetbacks she hated. So she took me back to him and basically just gave me to him. I tried to tell her that he was starting stuff again, and I was told that she was just too tired to hear it right now, so I never tried to get help from her again. By the time I was between 10 and 11 years old, I'd begun to read books about child abuse, molestation, and cults. Couldn't find anything about the sexual slavery parts, but there was enough there already for me to understand that what was being done was wrong and to fight it. I began to refuse him. Every day was a battle of screaming, shouting, throwing things, hitting each other, while mother would then punish me for being disrespectful to my stepfather. And in the end, he was trying to rape me in the afternoons, and I was stalking the house at night while he slept with a knife in my hands, trying to get the nerve to kill them both in their sleep. Poor girl, and then she'd be tried. That's the country we live in. She would be tried. Just as I was ready and prepared to do it, I had stuff packed and everything. He just disappeared. After a week of him being gone, my mother told me that he had been having an affair with another lady who was only 17 years old but had a 2-year-old daughter already, and that she kicked him out for cheating on her. Oh, you'll kick him out for cheating, but not fucking your preteen daughter. I think I've had enough of this one. I think I can't really read much more of that one. And it just goes back into what I was saying before. People can get mad at me for going off topic, but these are the types of parents that we got mixing up out here. Some people are so selfish that they only regard their children as meal tickets. What does that mean? It means that some people can get a certain amount of money based on the amount of heads that they have as far as kids. And you guys have seen them for yourselves. Go watch any kind of dumbass musical where it's a whole bunch of little kids in some kind of orphanage. How many little kids they got? It establishes how much money they make, just like prison. As crazy as it sounds. And a lot of parents just don't give a fuck about their kids. They're not the types of people who should have kids. Well, how do you assess a person? How do you assess a person and say whether or not they deserve a child? It can't just be about passing a fucking psychological test. A lot of people can fake their way through that. Cops can fake their way through that. Doesn't mean that they're not racist assholes and they going out gunning down little kids. They do this shit every day, and they get away with it every day because the state's behind them. You feel me? It doesn't mean that you can just test a person based on how much they make financially, because, hey, man, I can sit in a room and record something for somebody, and if they're down to pay me a certain amount for it, then that's how much money I make. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that in many ways, like, okay, man, we can't really get riled up about it, but the bottom line is some people are not fit to be parents. I can't continue this one, and I'm apologizing. Not because, like, it really triggers me, but because, like, this is the type of shit that we got to put out of our heads, because if we thought about it every second of every hour of every day, the weight of the world would crush us in an existential way.
She made it out all right from what I read from that last phrase, so it's horrible what she had to endure.
it's barely behind her. And even when it will be behind her, as far as time is concerned, time isn't going to be healing any of those wounds. She was molested as a child and brought in the midst of other people where she was tortured and molested, like, with them. Kids would die. You know? And her mother was refusing assistance after being told that her daughter was being molested because she didn't want to be like the wetbacks, you know? There's racism in pretty much every family. And here's the bottom line. Like, I don't have respect for some of the people that are in the homes with racism because they're tolerating it, dude. That's the craziest part. You're tolerating that shit. It's one thing to have nowhere else to go and just like, you know, okay, grandma, you know what I mean? Just sitting there silent. You don't, just like what I said about the gays and with Christianity, you should be like, okay, you kind of love this person, but you just hate what they're about and how they are. But like, dude, you can't allow people to think that certain things are okay because it's when people test those boundaries, and you just sit there that they push the boundaries. It's crazy. Number 9, I realized my family was in a cult, and when I was 10, we had a burn party for the television. As it exploded, people chanted, "Die, Satan, die." Oh. Somebody says, sounds like my childhood, more burnt toys and movies. Didn't they do this in an episode of Simpsons?
I have no clue.
I think they did. And to be honest, it just screams early 90s. It screams early 90s.
I remember seeing a news clip of a church that like had their people not their children not see doctors at all. It all had to be healing from God. You have to take your kid to the church if they were sick and just pray for them to get better.
Remember in that movie with when Jaden Smith was young and he did it with Will Smith and they did the whole there was a dude drowning in the water and a boat comes by and goes, "Hey, you need some help?" And he's just like, "No, I'm fine. God will save me." So boat goes on its way. After another while, another big ass boat comes, says, "Yo, you need some help?" And he says, "Nah, man, God will save me." And the dude drowns and he gets to heaven and he asks God, "Well, why didn't you come save me?" And he said, "I sent them big ass boats." You know what I'm talking about? Like, Family Guy did a great episode where, you know, it was tackling, for some reason they were getting up on a soapbox to tackle the lack of people vaccinating their kids or, you know, whatever. And it was like a Bible thumping couple that was just like, "No, God will heal our child," and the kid's like dying, you know what I mean? And I think Lois at some point is just like, isn't it possible that God gifted some people with a mind, you know, possible to create something to keep this shit at bay? You know what I mean? What if this is God's answer and it's up to you to fucking enable it? Like, I don't know, man. Again, my point is like, I just want these people gone. I want these people off the fucking earth. Okay? But it's not going to be as easy as that. And it should never be as easy as getting these people off the earth, because I'm sure some people feel that way about, you know, about us. I'm sure the vaccination people feel that way about us. I'm sure the vegetarians feel that way about the meat eaters. Get off this earth. Eat
I
meat.
thought you were talking about heathens.
Number 8. Man, I'm getting a lot of text messages tonight. Number 8. Not my story, but my parents' story is pretty decent. I've posted this somewhere else before. Get to it, nigga. My parents grew up in a religious cult as teenagers. They fell in love, but when they asked permission from the church elders to court each other and get married, they were denied. My mom was excommunicated suddenly in her 20s. She didn't know why until she found out by chance a long time after. So they didn't see each other again for 20 years, while one remained on the inside and the other was in the real world. Mom tried writing to him a couple of times, but my dad was brainwashed and told her that she was evil and should repent for her sins. Damn, son. Things that he had been told about her by the cult, both remained unmarried. When dad was excommunicated himself 20 years later, my mom heard about it through his brother, who had left some years earlier. It took them another 20 years to get in contact. What the fuck?
How do they...
So they're 60 years old at this point? Shut up. Hold on. My mom was excommunicated suddenly in her 20s. So not even 20 years old, but she's probably 20 something. They didn't see each other again for 20 years. There must have been other niggas and women in their lives at this point, because you 40-something years old. Things he had been excommunicated himself. When my dad was 20 years later, they in their 60s? Nigga, what? My mom heard about through his brother. It took them another year to get in contact, and they were in different continents, didn't know where each other were, and dad was trying desperately to get used to life in the outside world, having never lived in normal society before, and now in his mid-40s. Dad told us later that he wanted to find mom, but was afraid because he believed she was going to hell. Welcome to hell. One day, he finally had a letter from mom. He wrote back immediately. And basically assumed that they were getting married, packed his bags and moved across the world to find her. Mom answered the door to dad in the early 80s, having not seen him in 20 years. They were engaged that night and married within 6 weeks. They are still happy together.
That's pretty nuts.
What a cute little story.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't they have kids at like 45 or something? Isn't that really bad? How was she not menopausal by that point?
Oh, stripes. That's rude. Menopause is supposed to kick in around 48, right?
I don't know.
Late 40s, maybe. I don't know. We don't know nothing about menopause. Don't shame us in the comment section. She's the one who's getting me to talk about this shit I don't know anything about. You know what I mean? Kyle will keep it to shit he know what he talking about.
Only human beings and whales go through menopause. Did you know?
Stripes facts. Number 7. My mother is a follower of Supreme Master Ching Hai since 2004. Google her. Really weird when it first started. Tried to force my dad and the whole family to eat vegan and wasted tons of money on useless merchandise like $800 portrait of the master. Aside from that, and the condescension toward us non-believers, no real culty threats like you typically hear. $, dollar bill, y'all. $800 for a portrait. It's funny because I was just talking about vegetarians. Somebody said, oh my god, her Wikipedia page is gold. She has been criticized for making allegedly ostentatious displays of generosity, as well as self-promotion.
She don't sound that bad.
Oh my
She's
God.
an entrepreneur.
Number 6. From birth, literally walked away without a penny at 21. When you leave a cult, you not only lose your home, family, financial abilities, but you lose your lifelong identity, your only known community, and you lose the ability to be sure of anything anymore. Somebody said, what cult? Please expand. Bam. Advanced Training Institute, ATI, the leader Bill Gothard has in recent years fallen into disgrace after the bulk of his raised in cult became adults and opened up about the horrible things they taught us and experienced. Gothard, as it turns out, wasn't just a narcissist who created an entire religion with himself at the head, but now many allegations of him molesting young girls have come out as well. No surprise to anyone who grew up in it, but he was very well respected in the Christian religious world. Ooh. Look, baby. Let's get through this list. Where some of these are really short, and that's good. I'm burning up in here. Number 5. Well, I was born into a family that were Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, whether they are a cult or not is debatable, but I, for one, do believe that it is one. It is a cult, sir. The moment where I realized that I had to leave was when I brought my friend over one day. My mom scolded me for bringing them over and told me that everyone was out to ruin my life if they weren't in the same religion as us. They would talk about how they are horrible and corrupt people, that we needed to cleanse them. I took a look at my friend and I couldn't see that. All I saw was love and kindness. I knew that these views were corrupt themselves, and then I started to talk to my brother, who also shared the same thoughts. We both brought it up with our parents and the elders of our church, and none of them could give us any answers about anything. This is when we both decided that we cannot follow the lead of the people that cannot explain what they are leading us into. In the end, we just didn't really believe in the religion itself. Yeah, nigga. You know what I mean? When you can't even talk, your only response is silence. You ain't got nothing to say. You ain't got nothing to defend, bitch. You know what I mean? Shut the fuck up, Jehovah. Somebody else said, I was also brought up Jehovah's Witness, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I remember when I used to go to the local Kingdom Hall as a child, and there was this guy who regaled me with a tale of how his youngest had died, as they wouldn't allow the kid to have a necessary treatment to save him, all because of our beliefs. Madness. He said he was telling me as I was his same age as his kid. I think I was maybe 8 or 9. That's so sad. That is so bing bang. Go on, Stripes.
It's just, I'm really happy to see these kids questioning what they were taught. That's what you need.
It's not happening enough, Stripes. It's not happening enough.
Oh, I also wanted to say something cute about my sister's husband. He grew up in a house and there was no television because there couldn't have been. But now that he's here and no one can tell him shit about watching TV, he is just enamored with the show Friends. And it's nuts. It's like, the show's so dumb, but he doesn't know any better.
You know what the cute part is? He's probably never had real friends. I'll be there for you.
And do you know whose favorite character is?
Who?
Ross.
I knew it. I knew it. Number 4. I grew up in the family radio cult. What the fuck? What they are mostly remembered for is their 2011 prediction of the end of the world and rapture. Spoiler, the world didn't end. I was a young adult and able to leave in the chaotic aftermath without too much of a fight from my parents. I'm doing okay. Many people are not. Some are still making more predictions. I do want to take a second and say that 90% of the people in the group were kind people who really didn't want the world to end, but were just so brainwashed that they really believed it. Some of the nicest, most giving people that just got sucked in, chewed up, and swallowed into the abyss that it was. Look, a lot of people are looking for acceptance, dude. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to call out the furry community. It's no different from any other crazy ass communities. You know what I'm talking about? But the bottom line is, a lot of people just seek acceptance. And when you're alone and you're shut up in your room, you can get on the internet and just see anything. Do you know what I mean? We're not even talking about autism where like sometimes like you're just really into things, you know? Maybe you're into really into collecting like miniatures, or maybe you're really into like maps or something. Maybe you want to draw like forests, and that's all you want to do. You want to paint forests, you want to draw trees and flowers, you know what I mean? You want like flora all over the house and shit like this. Some people just have a thing that they're about. That's why it was an autistic thing, you know what I mean? Autism is what it is, Stripes. And sometimes these kids, they grab a hold, not just kids, but adults, they grab hold of something and they fucking beat the life out of this thing, you know? They are into this thing to the maximum and maybe they'll let it go, you know, and they'll find a new thing to latch on to. But some people are into that thing for their entire lives. And my point is this: a lot of people, just like in the Black Mirror episode I mentioned to you earlier, when they are at their weakest, you know, something can appeal to them, something can grab them and give them what they're looking for. And the bottom line is this, Stripes. A lot of these religions, they offer these people what they're looking for. If it's self-esteem, if it's confidence, you know, and they can give them that, damn. If it's the security that when they're dead, that they have something good to look after, you know, instead of being anxious and being fretful and scared and what's going to happen, you know, they can have the peace and serenity and the certainty that maybe where they're going to go is going to, you know, be where they want it to be. Maybe it's that they want friends and community, like a family of people that's going to be there and wondering how they are, and just like a group to commune with and go in on a weekly basis and see each other and go, oh, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Be fake, whatever, you know what I'm talking about? They have that shit. And basically what it is, Stripes, is the answer to a lot of questions that people have, you know? And I mean that like figuratively. I mean like these people have a desire, these people have a want, and then the deliverance of this want is what a lot of religions like dangle in front of them, even though they're what they want may be sinister in some cases. Sometimes they want to just marry people to expand the religion, you know what I mean? Sometimes they want people's money more often than not. But the bottom line is this: imagine if everybody that I was speaking to now, imagine if everybody that you went out into the world and spoke to, you could just see what they needed, you know what I mean? You could just look at them and then see, like, man, they wish they had somebody just to lay down with at night. Not necessarily somebody to be with, but they just wanted somebody next to them in their bed to like hold close or hold them or something. And you could offer them that. What wouldn't they do? What wouldn't they do for you, Stripes? What amount of money wouldn't they give you? What amount of trust wouldn't they offer up to you if you're flat out capable of giving them what it is they want? Even if you have to trick them into thinking that what you're giving them is what they want. You get what I'm saying? These people got to employ vernacular. Do you know what I'm saying? All of these people got, and it's not their fault, because we all have dips in the line graph that is, are you okay? Imagine a line graph that's like, are you okay? And it's like a line graph and everything's fine, and it's just like, oh my God, take that dive. You know what I mean? And that's when they get you. Because when you're down there, you're just looking around like, God damn, is there meaning? Is there anything that can lift me up? Is there nothing that I can do? And then somebody will be like, you know, when I felt like that, the Jehovah's Witnesses are waiting for me. I'm kidding. Number 3.
Do you want to believe that the followers have ill intentions when they like join the cult and try to have like
no
people join in to feel the way they do?
No, I don't think that at all. I don't think that the people who are ill intent on the followers' behalf? No. Yeah. Why are you asking that? Why do you think? Why? How could they have ill intent? The only ill intent that I could think of as a follower is if you're going in to try and like raise hell inside the organization. Do you mean bad? Do you mean ill intent on the behalf of the people trying to get the followers?
No, I'm talking about the followers themselves. Because you... Well, I will say, is the way you talk about these people is a little dehumanizing.
The people in charge, not the people going in. Okay. The people going in have been suckered at the most vulnerable point in their life. There's nothing that I can attack them with because they're not worthy of attack. If anything, they're only worthy of my pity. I don't want to, put them down. They're at a very tough point. This is why I brought up the Black Mirror episode, because while you're grieving for a person that you fucking lost, you really can't get any lower. And if somebody said, hey, we could bring them back, it doesn't matter what the morals or the ethics, so you're not going to think about it. You're just going to leap. And with a lot of these things, they're just looking for something, whether it be security, whether it be, the warmth of other people around you, someone to talk to, someone to be there. You know what I mean? They play on people with low self-esteem and few friends. They can offer these things willingly. People with bright, shiny, happy faces, pretending fake as fuck. You're not getting any negativity. You're not getting any hostility. You're not getting their problems. They're only looking at you, and they seem to be all about you and trying to help you and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? How could it be anything other than what you're looking for? And that's how they get them, Stripes. Number 3. I ran away from home at 16 and joined this super weird spiritualistic cult. They didn't have any gods, but they believed a lot in spirits and ancestors. We all lived in this big house owned by the leader, whose name was Jonathan. Jonathan had a special kind of connection to the spirit world, or whatever. They were all super good people. They took me in, gave me food and clothes. One of the guys gave me a job in his company. They had a lot of rituals and stuff that we did, with a huge emphasis on community and common good and honoring the dead. It wasn't a bad thing. So does that make it not a cult? I don't know. They did require a lot of dedication to the group and stuff. I believe 5% of the income had to go to the cult to help Jonathan with the rent, so they could all buy food and shit. I lived with them for a few years, and they got me through high school. And without them, I never would have gone to college, which is the reason I left. which is the reason I left and where I am not. I meant where I am now. What? Bitch, stay in school. You feel me? Sounds like you found a fairly benevolent hippie commune, for real. I wish I could buy a fucking house and get everybody living in that house. Get some girls to be giving me some squeegee ouija lemon under a table. And that girl's name's gotta be Hannah, though. Number 2. According to my dad, who joined a cult when he was 17 in Cali and left about a year later, he joined because free drugs and a free place to live. Score, you know. You remember somebody was talking about how they were like a otherkin or something in the stream one time?
No, I don't remember that.
You must remember that, Stripes. That was when you made your dawn. You probably were never watching my streams more than when you first arrived on the scene and were trying to get my attention. And at that time, some lady came into a confession podcast talking about how she was an otherkin and how like some people identified as trees and something and they lived in a house. And they were all like, and we were all like, what's the difference between otherkins and furries? And like, I think otherkins was that they can be anything or something, right?
I think that's still true about furries, though. You don't have to be an animal.
Yeah, but then there's different names for, like, if you're a fish.
What if you want to be a mushroom, though? A mushroom with arms.
What would you call yourself, a mushy? Hi, guys. I'm Mushy the Mushroom.
You have a shroom sona, then.
That's dumb.
No. I'm gonna make one for you.
Mush sona.
I said shroom sona.
Mine's funnier.
No.
Yes. I love that you're really anime. You're like, no. He left because the cult started to tell people not to contact their families, and only the higher level members got drugs anymore. Fuck that. He says he left after the main leader went to jail for sex crimes. Dude, it seems like no leader of a cult is gonna be able to not have sex with, like, here's the thing. All you gotta do is not fuck the kids. Do you get what I'm saying? Because you can't, look, power corrupts, absolutely. Or wait, no, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely, right?
Sure.
You can't expect a man in the position of power to not want to get his Jimmy whistled. You get what I'm saying? So, just don't fuck the kids. And maybe I'm being judgmental and wrong, but I really want to see these kids that they were messing around with, man. Maybe as a man, like, I can just separate, like, oh, this kid's below the age of whatever, you know what I'm talking about? But you know that there's, like, somewhere in Colombia right now, there's a 16-year-old girl with, like, triple D's and the fattest ass you ever seen, and you're just like, damn, you know what I'm talking about? But that's not the case. You know, they were probably into little girly boy-looking girls, and that's so fucking wrong. Underage monkeying is wrong, regardless.
You were just talking, in the same breath, you were just talking about hot 16-year-old Colombian girls.
I wasn't saying I wasn't saying that it justifies it. I'm just saying there are pictures that you can see. You can put a side-by-side picture of like a hot broad with like a chick that's, technically like a year under the age of when it becomes legal or something. And like, it doesn't change what she looked like. You know what I'm talking about? We could go on Instagram right now and find some hoes with such ridiculous, curvy hourglass figures where you're just like, how, you know what I'm talking about? But that doesn't make it right, you know? And I'm saying, Stripes, that if we were to look at pictures of what kind of chicks these dudes were diddling around with in their fucking cults, it would be disgusting. And they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, I suppose the most you're guilty of is thought crimes.
Thought crimes? Can't be a Jehovah's Witness no more. Number 1, found them online when I was only 14. Wasn't introduced to it. I stumbled onto it. They seemed normal at first, but then things started getting weird. If you didn't agree with everything they said, you were shunned as an outcast. Was it Jehovah's Witness? Which I found strange considering so many of them had joined as outcast members of the society. I wanted to leave. They said you could anytime, but it was an addiction and they knew you weren't going to leave. Finally, I just gave in and I've been on Reddit ever since. Welcome to Hotel Reddit. So the top post was a joke. Let me turn on this fan because I'm fucking dying. We made it through this list and I'm sure it's pissed off somebody, because I was I was really going off on this list. I gotta find lists that I don't give a fuck about. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. And maybe I could be involved.
I
in
want
those.
my Mass Effect.
Oh, when is it coming out?
Tonight, but I want the digital code so I can play it at midnight. No. What a world. Brother.
Yes.
What a world. Okay. I don't know why I was scrolling down. I was just looking at whatever potential Reddit, which double standard irritates you the most. I could do that later. What?
Oh, wait, is that going to be a list in itself?
Maybe. I'm really hungry. I'm thinking I should go out for like lunch. Let's check and see how much money's on my Bing Bong card. You know what I'm talking about? Let's check that out. What should I get for lunch if there's money?
There's nothing at Taco Bell
Nah,
anymore.
man, I gotta stop going to Taco Bell and McDonald's. I'm thinking maybe I'll go to Checkers and then I'll do some walking.
Checkers. I miss Checkers so much. You have no idea.
This money doesn't add up. Something's really wrong about this money. Word. I don't know. Okay, guys, I love you to death. This list has actually run on, but I did record it's been an hour and a half.
That's not so bad.
What do you mean that's not so bad? That's longer than any list we've ever recorded.
That's not true. We've made one that's like 2 hours.
No, we haven't. You kidding? You think I'd ever sit somewhere and
I'm
record
not
anything with you for
kidding.
fucking 2 hours? You better look up that list right now.
Find
I will buy
one
you a
that's
steak
2
dinner
hours.
if there's a 2-hour list that we did. And if it wasn't a stream, Stripes, I'm talking about a list. If it's a stream, you owe me money, okay? And if it's a list, then I will buy you steak dinner. There is no way ADD Kyle sat and recorded no damn list for 2 hours. Are you kidding me?
We doing this?
We're doing it. So you find me that damn list, Stripes. How do you cope with the deep-set existential dread and the realization that everyone and everything in your life is ultimately meaningless and temporary? Niche said that in a meaningless universe. What?
Life is what you make of it. I don't understand this.
Oh, God. You better have read this before. Because that's exactly what Niche does say in a nutshell.
Wait, what? No.
Niche says that in a meaningless universe, you can create your own meaning, your own meaningful universe. So yes, life is what you make it. That's what he says. Everyone is an artist in that way. And since the world is meaningless, but people find meaning all the time in their daily lives, we're actually quite good at it. It's not living a lie because there's no meaningful truth to define the lie against. It's just living well.
Where's the part where he compares himself to a pilot of his own life?
Du hast by me Mass Effect. So I found a page. Oh wait, I was showing you this page, and I was judging ramen with you. That was fun. I was like, ew, that's nasty ramen. Why do I want corn in my ramen? Nah, I'm the type of guy with ramen. I just want a little bit of beef in there and maybe an egg, maybe some cheese even. Nah, that's a bit overkill. I don't know about the cheese. I don't like onions either. I don't like the consistency of onions. I like the taste that onions will give things, so I use an onion powder. But I don't like the consistency of onions, so I'm not trying to like chop that up.
I love onions.
There was one that I saw that was the best one. I can't find it again.
When you bite into onions, it just explodes in your mouth. It's spicy. I love it.
Yeah, Stripes probably does love things exploding in her mouth. Oh, bing bong. Shut up, Kyle. Gotta stop saying bing bong.
Yeah.
Look at this dirty ass water. Buh. That's how you know it's gonna be good. You know what I'm talking about? I would drink that up. I gotta stop making noises like that. Look, an hour and a half is too long. Why are we doing this? I need to end the video now, okay? Guys, I love you to death. Wow. An hour and 33 minutes. Fuck me. See you later.